Ah, there we go. Sorry. I tried to click go live and it went, yeah, it's not working, mate. Do you want to shut it down? I went, no, try again. And it went, yeah, it's not working, mate. Do you want to shut it down? So I said, fine, shut it down. Unfortunately, it was resurrectable. So apologies, I'm a minute late, but happy Saturday, I guess. We'll start off. We will start off with the Robert Mueller news. For those who don't know, he has died. And so when Sir Wig put their R.I.P. Robert Mueller, I mean, I did just see that as I came on. And my first thought was, no doubt Trump's going to make some graceless comment. And then who was it who said, yeah, John's just said what Trump has said about Mueller's death. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. He really is nasty, isn't he, Trump? He really is an evil piece of work, isn't he? But anyway, let us start with, well, let us start. I mean, the menu for today, the Iran war. I want to go through some thoughts because I don't think America are going through many thoughts in terms of where we are. So let us begin. Try and bear with me. If anyone thinks I'm missing something obvious, please put it in the chat. But bear with me. This should just take a few minutes. So let us begin. Strategic objectives, because Donald Trump says they're close to meeting their objectives, right? I'm going to say this. Neither Israel nor the United States has clearly stated its strategic objectives. Again, we always compare with the Iraq war, don't we? I certainly do. There were clear strategic objectives there. It was to remove the regime in order to, well, Bush said, in order to get rid of their weapons of mass destruction, which it turned out they did not have. That was a bit of a cock-up. But anyway, that was at least a strategic aim, wasn't it? That was a clear strategic objective. There haven't been any clearly stated. Now, there have been two that have been mused upon. The first is regime change. They're not close to regime change. The second is taking Iran's enriched uranium. They're not close to that either. Now, if neither are achieved and neither are being achieved, then it's not just that people will wonder it's all right, Trump saying, oh, our objectives have been met. What were those objectives, Mr. President? Oh, hampering their nuclear program. It's like the deal would have done that and you were quite close to a deal. And also you said you did that last year. So what's going on? But anyway, that's how I feel it's going. But here's there's lots of things here. Won't Iraq, think about the Iranian regime, think about it from their point of view. Won't they feel they've won? If America and Israel just stops the war with what they know are bullshit objectives met, won't they feel they've won, right? Then there's the nuclear issue. I'm not convinced, I'm not certain, but I'm not convinced Iran really wanted a nuclear weapon. It may have just wanted leverage to pursue its own potential, its political activities without being isolated from global trade. Now, what if they now feel that they do need nuclear weapons? What if they look at North Korea? I mean, North Korea is just as anti-American as Iran, but nobody's seriously talking about invading them. What if Iran decides that the reason for that is that North Korea has nuclear weapons and you don't want to mess with someone with nuclear weapons? Now, they might not be right in that thinking. After all, North Korea also has bollocks trade. But what if the Iranian leadership think that having a nuclear weapon actually now is a better route to getting trade deals done without having to trust an American president who keeps bombing them every time he has a bad day? So again, if you think about it from Iran's point of view, there's a danger here that they feel they will have won. They won't just try and claim it for their own public, that they will actually feel that they've won. Because America certainly won't have won, because what will they have won? Nothing. Israel won't have won. What will they have won? Nothing. Then think about this, right? This is mental. So, again, think about this from Iran's point of view. So, Trump is at war with Iran, okay? Everyone agrees on that at least. War usually means you try to squeeze your enemy's supply lines as much as possible. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to recall one of the things that brought America into the First World War, or was it the Second? But at some point, a German ship sank an American ship. as part of like trying to squeeze British supply lines, maybe in the Second World War. But you certainly try to squeeze your enemy's supply lines, right? So that they run out of resources. Trump has eased sanctions on Iranian oil. That's mad, isn't it? Now, what does that? You couldn't make it up. He's actually loosened. It's not that all the sanctions are gone, but he's loosened sanctions on some Iranian oil. What does that? Never mind that. What that tells us. What does that tell Iran? Iran are stopping innocent bystanders from selling their gas and oil, and Trump has responded by making it easier for Iran to sell theirs. You couldn't make it up. But it tells Iran that Trump is hurting, and he's hurting specifically because their attack on oil supplies is working exactly as they intended. It's hurting Trump so badly that he's loosened existing oil sanctions, not just on Russia, but on them. That's just batshit. Is the strategy here to get the Iranian leaders to piss themselves so hard they'll have heart attacks or something? And then Trump talks. So I wake up this morning to hear Trump saying he's talking about winding down soon. Now, put that side by side with Israel saying that the attacks are going to be stepped up next week. Now, why? Put those two things together, right? What's going on here? I'll tell you what I'm thinking. It's only speculation, of course, but my speculation is this. What if Trump has told Israel, like, whatever they're saying to the public, they have to have been having frank conversations with one another, right? What if they're saying, look, whatever we thought was going to happen at the start of this war hasn't happened, right? It's not happening. We're not getting regime change. We can't take their uranium. We need a way out of this. I cannot afford for this war to drag on, and it's not going to drag on. What if Trump has told Israel, you can have whatever it is, 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever. He's given them a deadline and said, at that point, we will support you with whatever batshit crazy idea you come up with next. But once that's done, this war is over because I can't afford it, right? And what if that is the reason why Israel are saying they're going to step it up? Because at this point, they're just thinking, right, well, let's just cause as much damage as we can. Maybe that's what's happening. And if so, and again, it's pure speculation. I haven't heard any like experts saying this, and I'm not an expert. But if so, I wonder what the reason is. Is it just because Trump knows he can't afford it? Or I wonder if that attack on the gas field spooked him, you know. Because I always have to say presumably knows. The US president should know these things, but, you know, there's certain things he doesn't know. So, but I presume he knows, like I do, that people are saying that oil prices will not go straight back up when the war ends. It's not like the war ends, all the ships come out and everything's fine again. Production has to ramp back up. So it will take months, half a year maybe, for production to get back up to where it was, right? Which means prices to come back down to where they were. And sometimes the prices may lag. There might be a bit of hysteresis in the system as well. But I suppose the US president can maybe do, you know, some strong arming to get prices down potentially, as long as the supply's there. But if production sites are hit, then it's years. You're talking years, because you'd have to repair them first. So I wonder if that attack on that gas field just really spooked Trump and said, no, like he's already thinking he can't afford this war to drag on, and now he's thinking I definitely can't afford for it to escalate. Because if there's a significant amount of destruction to production sites anywhere in the Middle East, then it doesn't matter what happens with the war. You've basically knackered oil prices for the rest of Trump's term, never mind even just this year. When I paying the same, my electric bill more than doubled today. I had to spend over 2 hours to get a tariff that was £43, went up to 206, back down to 100. What sort of weird how do you pay for your electricity? I mean, in terms of the latest, in terms of like normal, I don't know what you're doing with your electricity, but in terms of normal um, people's bills, we need renewables ASAP, but yes, we do. Um, Weirdly, again, there's all sorts of batshit stuff coming out from both the Conservatives and the Greens, I have to say, this weekend. The Greens are saying, oh, we wouldn't be in this mess if Labour had invested in renewables. They did. By the next election, we're going to be virtually all renewable in terms of the electricity going onto our grid. They have massively invested in renewables. What the hell sort of stupid comment is that? And then I see Kemi Badenoch today. This ain't going to pass without comment tomorrow. Kemi Badenoch saying, oh, Labour are looking at dragging us into this war. It's like, what? The war that you said we should have joined on day one. And gave him a hard time in Paris. Again, all this, oh, I never said we should join. It's just this bloody Hansard. I could read it out. She was berating Starmer for not joining with Israel and the United States in strikes against Iran. And so did Priti Patel, her shadow foreign secretary. She was really explicit on social media. So now she's gone from attacking Starmer for refusing to get drawn into the war to now accusing him of getting dragged into it. It's like, all right. Oh, we need energy independence. Well, everyone wants energy independence. I will just point out this. Energy independence is a very long way away for anyone or for any large economy. Like even China, like you could look at China. You can get copies of Hansard's online. You just look up. You do a Google search for whoever you want and then some phrase they said and it'll come up. The particular debate you will want was on the so when was it? It would have been, hold on. It would have been Monday, the 2nd of March, I think, this particular one. So you'd look up what Kemi Badenoch said on Monday, the March the 2nd. But, sorry, where was I? Yeah, sorry, even China. So China, of course, has huge oil reserves of its own, and it's gone bigly into renewables itself. And for the specific purpose of national security, they have gone massively into particularly solar. So they have a lot of their energy come from renewables, not by any means as much as we're going to have when we're done. And yet, so China at the moment are fairly well insulated, but they would also only be able to withstand it for so long. If this war did drag on for months, they would start to look a bit. But at the moment, they are, because they've taken a long-term view, they've got massive reserves of oil, and they've got a lot of their energy come from renewables. And it's not just that it's renewables feeding onto the grid. They also have a lot of electric vehicles in China. So in terms of like, you know, there's huge numbers of people buy electric vehicles in China. But there we go. Wanga Pegan then saying, apparently there was a deficit in your meter readings leading to an above average increase. Oh yeah, you always have to watch out for those. I tell you, we had the opposite problem a couple of years ago. We were trying to tell our energy company the gas meter's bust. And they were going, no, it's not. I went, it's bust. No, it's not. I went, all right then. At the moment, you're charging us nothing for gas. So that's fine if you want to carry on charging us nothing. At which point they had to think about it and thought, okay, we'll send an engineer around. And lo and behold, it was bust. So they basically hadn't charged us anything for gas for months. And there was nothing they could do because the meter literally said we hadn't used any. And we called them, you know, it's not like we'd sat on it for years or anything. When we realised, we called them and they weren't having it. They weren't having it. The only way we could get them to take it seriously was just pointing out that they weren't charging us anything for gas right now. At which point they thought, hang on a minute, speak their language, money. They suddenly listen to you. My concern is if Israel runs out of interceptors and decides to turn Iran into a parking garage. Well, again, at the moment, this is entirely, of course, although we talk about, I mean, Trump's wanted to take ownership, so I'm more than happy for him to do so. But on the balance of probability, this war was not America's idea. they were working on a deal. They were quite close to a deal, despite sending complete idiots into the talks. And so this was, and Rubio said so. It's not me. It's not me guessing. Rubio basically said so. So he might be a liar. He's not the most honest of people, but it has the whiff of truth, doesn't it? That Israel were going to attack anyway, and Trump was too weak to say no to them. But maybe now he's not. Maybe now he's thinking, hang on a minute, I can't afford this war. And America itself can't afford it multiple ways. Trump can't afford it because inflation is going to kill him in the midterm. It's another one to throw on the pile. There's lots of things could really do him a lot of damage in the midterms. But high gas prices we know they're one. Americans react very badly. It was something that was highlighted as a major concern of voters in 2024. And even though those prices were coming down, by the election, those prices were coming down. Americans just had it in their heads. Things were too expensive, including gas. So again, the danger of having an idea embed itself in the public's mind. Say we've got this, similar thing with immigration, haven't we? There's, people remember those headlines about, net migration of like nearly 1 million or something, and people they still think it's actually going up. It's like it's massively come down, but they think it's going up. Now, admittedly, you would think it should be harder for people to think gas prices are going up when they're going down than it is immigration, where no one has a handle on it, but still. Relying on gas and oil when the supplies are causing so many problems, like giving cigarettes to someone who's trying to quit smoking. But it is absolutely insane. And I again, it's just testament to just how the problem with the human being is we have these brains that it's clever enough. The way I describe it, the human being, we are clever enough to destroy the world, but we're not clever enough to not destroy the world, right? It's a nonsense to me. I mean, look what's happened to energy bills. People have seen it. People in this country have seen it. What happened? Energy bills shot up in 2022. Why? Because Russia invaded Ukraine. How does that make sense? Because we had to completely rejig global oil supplies so that we weren't buying oil and gas from Russia. Well, that makes sense, right? Then we have America and Israel attack Iran. Oil prices go up. Oil and gas prices go up. Why? Because a lot of the world's oil and gas travels through the stretch of waterway that passes Iran, and Iran has shut that shipping down. Well, that also makes sense. But how is it that we can have the party leading the polls saying this is why we should use more oil and gas? How does that make sense? This should be making it easy for Labour and anyone else who wants to, Lib Dems and Greens, to say, no, this is exactly why we should not be using oil and gas. This should be Labour coming out and saying, we at the moment are on course to having 95% of our energy needs met by renewable or clean energy. It does include nuclear, apologies. Clean energy by 2030, a year after the election, which means that by the year of the election, the vast majority, because it'll not be like we'll be on about 50%, then the rest of it comes in that last year. It'll be a phased thing. Absolutely insane. Also, for your information, at the beginning of the week, Israel stated they're prepared to use nuclear weapons against Iran if Iran escalated their attacks against Israel. I saw some sort of suggestion about that. I don't think I'd seen an official one, because don't Israel, although everyone sort of knows Israel's got nuclear weapons, don't they officially not admit to it at least? I was under the impression that Israel has never officially acknowledged it even has them. Because, well, for multiple reasons. Partly because that would just encourage others in the area to develop them. And my estranged husband had a £20,000 electricity bill, a one-bedroom, efficient flat that never had a bill over £200 for the winter quarter. I don't think he paid it, no. You do get these mad things, don't you? Again, this is the problem. I mean, you know, automation of systems is good, but you need a system where when it goes wrong, someone just looks at it and goes, yeah, that's wrong. Probably got mixed up with Nigel Farage's bill. If everyone else was stupid enough to get involved in this war, I fear Trump would just pull his troops out and leave everyone else to try and clean up the mess. Well, his troops aren't really involved at the moment, are they? It's just pilots and naval officers. They're afraid. I mean, there's all sorts of desperate shit being discussed in the last couple of days. They were talking about occupying that Karg Island, weren't they, to try and pressure Iran? But I don't think they're really up for it, because the way I would look at it is this: if you could land troops there and occupy it, that would suggest that it's not an easily defensible position. Like, if you can physically, given that they can't physically displace Iranian troops in Iran, if they could displace them with this Karg Island, that would suggest it's not a very defensible position, right? Which I can well believe, it's just a little island. But then that would mean that they would themselves not be in a defensible, they'd be occupying a not very defensible position. And it's not like Iran would need to countercharge. They would just need to bomb the crap out of the island, wouldn't they? GCSE exams count nuclear as renewable. No, you must have that wrong. It's not in the national curriculum as renewable. It's accepted as clean. I was a physics teacher. It was never taught as a renewable source of energy. It's not renewable. It's just not fossil fuel. I'm going to look it up now, because I'm not having this. I'm quite sure it hasn't been changed. Let me have a look. It's right. It's definitely not in the national curriculum. Let me just look something else up. At which point you're going to have to name and shame the exam board, because it absolutely shouldn't. There's nothing at all. I've looked at every single reference of nuclear and renewable in the national curriculum, which is what all exams are supposed to be based on, or GCSE exams. No, it's not. It's not what it says. A USA chat says that the UK has gone nuts about animals on banknotes, and we've disbanded the House of Lords. Yeah, we've discussed the banknotes, but you get the picture. I mean, a lot of people... I mean, I was actually watching an American commentator who was thinking that he was trying to get this from Europe's point of view. And what he was saying in it, it was a lot of misinformation in there. I don't think he was lying, by the way. I think he's just misinformed. And it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like, it's difficult. It is sometimes, you do sometimes with limited information make certain assumptions, don't you? And those assumptions can end up being badly wrong. I was just reading, by the way. So we're taught in Britain, we're taught in school that King Harold II, the one who was beaten at the Battle of Hastings, marched his army up to Yorkshire to beat the Vikings, then had to march them all the way back south again to take on William. And because they were knackered, they lost the Battle of Hastings. Well, apparently now, historians say, no, this is bollocks. This is basically Victorian historians who read a phrase, completely misinterpreted it, and got it all wrong. So that never happened. I mean, he did lose the Battle of Hastings, but he never marched up and then marched down, and that's why they lost, because they were knackered. They sailed up and sailed down. They were fresh as daisies. They just weren't good enough to win. If Karg's invaded, the Iranians will simply cut off oil from the mainland, making it pointless. Possibly, or would they just not? It would just be easier to attack. I mean, they wouldn't want to destroy their own infrastructure, but it would, like, it would be easy to, I mean, at the end of the day, Iran's strategy, and this was always I said this before the bloody war had even started. It was obvious. Iran cannot take on the United States. It's not powerful enough. So what was its strategy? Its strategy was to create losses that would hurt the US president. So cutting off oil and gas through the Strait of Hormuz, that puts up oil and gas prices. But also, if a lot of American lives are lost, that is also a huge political cost to Trump. So if Trump put a lot of soldiers on that island, enough to hold it, I would think that would be far too tempting a target. I even though it has been muted, I get the impression, I've also heard other statements that are going, yeah, we're not really sure about this. Israel also refused to allow nuclear inspectors into their country. Yeah, but they have, they don't need to for trade deals. People only do it there's the only countries that have nuclear inspectors, it's usually for one of two reasons. Either one, they've joined the non-proliferation treaty, in which case they have the inspectors to make sure they're not enriching it too much, but they get to have their own domestic nuclear program without any hassle. The other are countries that don't join the non-proliferation treaty, but don't like economic sanctions. So without a formal agreement, they'll allow in inspectors in return for better trade terms, which is what Iran did. And then Trump cancelled it. Netanyahu have been talking about plans for a greater Israel for years more recently. Because they're, I mean, from his point of view, first of all, he's very old. I mean, he could just die. But if he doesn't die and a war stops, he goes to prison, doesn't he? So it's one of those things. But also he is, I mean, it's not just him, is he? His entire party's nutters. And actually the party he's in coalition with are even more insane, if anything. So it is what it is. The Normans won due to a ruse. Well, again, there's limited amounts known about it. The fact that we thought that because Harold was an idiot and had put all of his navy into dry dock, marched all the way up to Yorkshire, fought Vikings, and then marched all the way back again, and they were knackered. The fact that we thought that, and it turns out to be complete bollocks, and yet we've been thinking it for like 150 years or whatever, does sort of suggest we probably don't know a huge amount of what went on then. Is the Irish Sea still the most radioactive due to discharge and escapes? I have no idea, in all honesty. I mean, it's not unsafe. Lots of things are radioactive. Bananas are radioactive. We're radioactive. As long as it's below the safety levels, it's, you know, I mean, you don't want to encourage artificial sources of radiation as such, but, you know, as long as it's below a certain standard, it's fine. Iran has just launched a missile strike on the nuclear power plant in southern Israel. Hang on a minute, that doesn't sound... Oh, right. That... See, this is the problem now, you see. Like, there's part of me looking at Trump saying things like, yeah, we're going to wind this down. The fact that Israel say they're going to step things up says, you know, that suggests to me that Trump has decided this needs to end. And maybe, again, I mean, you know, I don't hope this might be just copium or something. I'm satisfied that Trump wants this to end quite quickly, that it's too hot for him to handle. But he has to persuade Israel to stop. Now, is he willing to put his foot down? I don't know. Is he telling Israel you've only got like 1 week left or 2 weeks left, say, and then that's it, we're calling it quits, or not? But then you've got to remember something else. We have to remember Iran are a player in this. Iran have made it clear that they will decide when the war is over. Now, they might well mean that. I mean, of course, that could just be bluster, right? Looking tough. But they could mean it. What if Trump declares the war over and Iran says, feeling that it has won, bollocks is it? It's over when we say it's over. Excuse me. What if, because I mean, remember, like you've got to remember, there's three governments here who do not give a shit about their own people. You've got the US government, do not give a crap about Americans. You've got the Israeli government who do not give a crap about Israelis. And you've got the Iranian government who do not give a crap about Iranians. All three of those governments have made their own people's lives less secure. And they don't give a shit, which is really bad karma. But what if Iran, the Iranian regime, was so convinced that the regime itself was secure that it decided, no, that it wanted to humiliate America, basically? What if it decides that it wants to keep going, that it can afford to keep going for a lot longer? I mean, I think that's a bit mad, I have to say. But what if? I did actually read as well. I can't understand what this is going. Again, this also suggests that Iran is not thinking strategically at all. Apparently, they launched a missile at Diego Garcia. Now, that is the island, the Chagos Island, that the UK shares a base with America on. Iran hasn't got a missile. I mean, I know there's a lot about Iran's capabilities that are not, because they're not totally transparent. So, you know. But they ain't got a missile that can make it that far. Needless to say, the missile did not reach there. But already posted that regarding Iran deciding to continue. Well, they might decide to continue. Like we're just, you know, we can't assume that this war ends when Trump says it ends. It started, Trump's weakness started it. He should have told Israel, no. Like, Marco Rubio says, oh, Israel were going to attack anyway, so we thought, well, it's better if we joined them than not. It's like, wasn't it better if you told them, don't you bloody dare? So then Iran would need to hit something big. Would it? Would it? Why would it? If it thinks it's secure, why not just take pot shot? I mean, I think it's mad because at some point, you know, I mean, at the moment, there's signs that America and Israel are both burning through their stockpiles quite rapidly. Not helpful in terms of America's stockpiles because even though we're buying them, we still want them for Ukraine. It's no good if Trump says, sorry, we haven't got any to sell you because we drop them on the desert. Thanks. For no good purpose. But from Iran's point of view, if they think they can carry on for a certain amount, again, they must run out of munitions at some point. But if they think they can go on, maybe they just think they can go on for an extra week or so. Maybe just, you know, it's like just having the last word, isn't it? I don't know. Why can't we be friends with all countries? Because there are arseholes in the world, and arseholes are always highly motivated to get into positions of power. Psychopaths enjoy power. And this is the thing, you have two types of person that finds positions of leadership, whether it be in a business or in a country or whatever. You've got the ones who are good at it, and so they naturally rise to the top. And you've got the ones, and they usually mean well, but they don't all have to. You can have competent arseholes as well. But then you've got the ones who just want the power for their own selfish purposes. And they're always really motivated. Whereas if you think about good people, their motivation, like, you might have some good people who would be naturally good leaders, but maybe they don't get to that position because they're not that motivated. They're just doing their normal good works where they can. And some of them are driven, but maybe relatively few. So I would say some good people are driven to seek leadership in order to do more good. Whereas all evil people or bad people, all of them are motivated to seek advancement. So I just think you have a higher proportion of arseholes in senior positions. They're not. It's not. It's not that they all are, but I just think. I just think some good people seek advancement. All bad people do. And yeah. So basically, the shit floats to the top, not the cream, in many cases. US has struck Natanz nuclear facility with bunker busters. Yeah, I saw that. Um, and again, that to me, it's almost an encouraging sign because if we go back to those strategic objectives, which they haven't been clear about, but the only ones they've even mentioned are regime change, not happening, and taking all their enriched uranium, not happening. So if Trump is now saying that we've nearly met the objectives, he knows at some point someone's going to ask him what they are. Even Fox News at some point is going to ask what the bloody hell they were, right? So it sounds to me like Trump is fishing for something he can sell as a win. And maybe he just feels that he's got nothing else, so he'll have to recycle last year's victory. You know, when he said he'd put back their nuclear program by years, maybe he thinks, oh, it worked last year, I'll use it again this year. Pacifism's a great concept. Everyone has to believe in it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's unfortunately why it doesn't work. There's lots of things that are really great ideas, but only work if literally everyone buys into it. Same with communism. You know, people describe communism as some evil concept. It's not. I can understand why people think it because every single country that's tried communism has ended up being a really properly evil, vicious, brutal dictatorship. But that is because it doesn't work unless everyone buys into it. And no, and you're not going to get everyone buying into it. Same with pacifism. Doesn't work, unfortunately. So communism is actually a lovely idea. Don't work. It only works if people want it. You can't impose it on people. And people wouldn't vote for it. Danny Kruger wants a hard border in Ireland. He probably just wants, like, there are some Tories, they can't say it too publicly, but there are a lot of Tories who don't actually want Northern Ireland in the UK. On that, they agree with, like, people with whom they violently disagree in Ireland. What he wants is a hard border with the EU. He doesn't care where it is. Conflict is important to evolution, like it or not. The pacifism of bonobos, adaptation to conflicts, not nice, but it's true. The problem ultimately is not all animals are aggressive. Like, I mean, they'll all defend themselves. They can be aggressive in defense, but very few are interested in conquer. But the ones who are the like. I mean, the way I tend to think of it is, and you see this in primate, if you're going to talk about apes, if you eat meat, if you evolve to eat meat, doesn't matter whether it's exclusively meat or not, you have evolved to kill because that's how you get your meat. Very few animals can scavenge. And an animal as successful at reproducing and expanding as humans cannot possibly survive on scavenged meat. So we had to evolve to be able to kill. And as soon as you've got that killer instinct, then you tend towards that sort of like an attitude of conquering, of killing, not just for food. As soon as you've got the killer instinct, you can see other advantages in killing, not just for food, but for territory. Danny Kruger wants the Troubles again. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. Sometimes with these people, you don't even know what they know. He may not know anything. He may not think they'd be risking it. Well, why would they go back to violence? No one wants violence. Why would they do that? Because he might just not know, or he might not care. You've got to remember, the Troubles only existed in the first place because a load of people didn't care. I mean, it should have been a red line for lots of people. You know, it should have been something that said, hang on a minute, you know, we need to come to an accord early on. But until people care, so he just doesn't care. Are there any animals that kill for fun? Well, I mean, we do. But there are, yeah, in terms of non-human animals, there are animals that exhibit signs of malice. Like dolphins, for example. You think dolphins are lovely. Dolphins are arseholes. Dolphins will torment their prey, tossing them in the air and catching them, basically play volleyball with them for a bit before they eat them. So yeah, there are plenty of animals that will act out of malice. And we know, for example, there are some animals that will kill more than they strictly need for the food as well. But I mean, humans, you know, and we're not unique. Our instincts, again, developed just the same. Any animal in the similar situation would have done. And yeah, Bernard's there saying, if you evolve brain power, you need more calories in unprocessed veg. That's exactly, it's believed. We've had various spurts in our brain growth. One of them was driven by fire because it allowed us to cook meat, which meant that we could extract more of the calories from it. So as soon as we had this little period where we could kill a lot of meat, like we could kill a mammoth, so that's a lot of meat. So you could have plenty of meat and you could cook it to break it down to extract more nutrients and calories. And there was a massive spurt in brain growth then that couldn't have happened if we were eating like nuts and seeds. Dolphins get high on puffer fish. Okay. I mean, we lick toads, so it's the same thing, I suppose, isn't it? Dolphins are the second most intelligent species on the planet after mice. Yes, Douglas Adams there. Moggy cats will play with their prey and will take over another cat's territory if able to. Yeah, there's all sorts of, you know, if you've got an animal that's got the kill, as soon as an animal develops the killer instinct for the purposes of food, it will use it for other things. We do see it. We see plenty of animals kill their own. Like if a lion takes over a pride, it will kill the baby lions, the cubs of the previous leader. You know, so. George there saying, Danny Kruger is my MP. Well, my commiserations. Would he still be your MP, though? I haven't actually looked it up. Would he have to chicken run somewhere? Because there are some Tory seats that Reform will not be able to win. Like they'll have, it's not just that they won't win them. They will, like you can't win, even in a seat where you could in theory win, they'll only be able to put resources into so many areas. They've only got so many boots on the ground. But there are just some seats that are just, you know, they'll vote Conservative. They won't vote Reform UK. I mean, I wonder if Suella Braverman is really in the right place as a Reform UK candidate. But anyway. Right, we're talking about animals too much. Let's go back up. Where have I missed? Comment on communism there. Communism also doesn't work as evil people naturally seek power. Communism requires more state power and centralisation in the early stages at least. Yeah, there's an argument for that as well. Again, it's the usual thing. Communism does require that the state controls everything, literally everything. If it doesn't control everything, it's not actually communism. And that, and again, because selfish people are more you've simply got more selfish people than good people seeking advancement. Some good people seek advancement because they see the potential to do lots of good if they have a more senior position, whereas some are just happy doing their normal daily acts of good and kindness. Whereas all selfish people, because selfish people know that they can't just go up to someone and says, give us all your money. It doesn't work like that. They need advancement in order to force it in one way or other. Ukraine have cheap interceptor drones they could sell to the US, but that would mean Trump needing to do a deal with Ukraine, probably against Russia. Well, no, they're already providing. I mean, it's not America that needs the anti-drone technology as such. America's not being attacked. It's the Gulf states, and Ukraine is providing them. Ukraine's already sent loads of people to Gulf states. Ukraine is not missing a trick here. It is actively building up relations with Gulf states in a sort of quid pro quo. We're going to help you out. We could do with some help, by the way. So yeah, it doesn't, put it this way, it doesn't sound to me like Zelensky's interested in Trump's quick deal on Russia's terms. They are still in this for the long haul. Council tax rising again. I mean, there's a sense in which council tax always should rise because you need to pay council workers, like they need pay rises each year, and the things they buy also cost more because inflation's never zero. But the problem is when council tax rises above the level of inflation, that's where you think to yourself, well, what's going on there? Which it is doing. Not everywhere, but in a lot of places. It certainly is in Reform UK councils, but it is in lots of them. So that's my issue there. A council, because remember, council tax isn't a percentage tax. It's not a percent based tax. It's just a lump. So it's like income tax. I mean, if your pay goes up, your income tax goes up every year. Doesn't matter whether you go into a new pay bracket or not. If you earn more, you're going to pay more income tax. But you don't feel like income tax is going up because that's given as a percentage of your income, whereas council tax isn't. It's not anything. It's not based on anything. It's just a number you look up on a table. My council tax bill is now £1,600 a year for a Band A property. What's ours? Hold on, let me have a look at ours. Apparently it caused some consternation on the local... I'm not on the local community sites, but my wife is. And there's people that just don't understand it at all. They go, oh, it's gone up by like 25%. No, it bloody hasn't. Absolute idiots. People can't even read their own council tax bill. Let me have a look here. Where are we? So a Band A, where I live, be a bit less than that. £14.91.61. But we're not in Band A, so ours is a bit more than that. So ours is a little bit less. But, again, but things do cost more. The issue is not so much council tax. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we can say things like one of the reasons why councils struggle is because the Tories massively reduced central government grants. But if more money went to councils from, let's say more money went to councils from central government, you'd still be paying for that anyway through other taxes, from general taxation. So, the issue with council tax is only where, it's not really an issue with council tax. It doesn't go up that much. It sometimes goes up by, I mean, if it goes up by 5% in a year when inflation's like 3%, then that's above inflation. But the problem is people's wages aren't keeping step with it, is the problem. They have a little bit in the last couple of years, but that's the issue. It's the same with anything. Like, there is a difference with, I mean, energy bills is more of a serious issue. Because like with, if someone says to me, why is council tax so high? I would say it actually isn't. But if you say energy bills, why are energy bills so? Because the council tax bills pay for public services. Do you want to do without the public services? No, we don't. Whereas if you were to say, why are energy bills so expensive? I would say, because we have a privatised energy sector and we've relied on the most expensive way of producing energy for too long. Two reasons. Energy bills are too expensive. I don't think council tax is. I think energy bills are. Because council tax goes on to public services, whereas our energy bills go into profits. A lot of it, a significant amount, goes straight into profit. I wonder if anyone's worked it out recently, exactly how much or what percentage of the average energy bill just gets eaten into profit. Because if we had fully nationalised clean energy feeding into the national grid, our energy bills would be cheaper for two reasons. First of all, zero profit, none at all. Second of all, the price would be pegged to cheaper forms of producing electricity. So it'd be way less. Can I enable the rewind option on my live stream, please? I have no idea what that is. I will try and look it up for future, but I have no idea what that is. Can't you? Don't you just click back in a thing? I don't know what that is. People wouldn't mind the increase if it was being spent on services, but people are seeing services being cut back more and more. So yeah, they are being spent on services, but it is true the council tax bills are going up and services are being cut. And the reason for that is because they're expended. There are more people. So councils provide a lot of services per person. And if you take social care, for example, as a huge expense for local councils, if you have, as we do, more people becoming elderly, because the boomer generation is getting towards old age now, then you have a greater need for social care. If you have an increase in mental health problems, but you have no mental health provision on the NHS. I keep saying I know they employ psychiatrists, but basically there is no effective provision on the NHS. You cannot, if you've got a serious mental health problem, you can have no confidence you can go to the NHS and be sorted. Whereas if you break your leg, the service is not as good as it should be. Like I knew someone who broke their arm, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. It was a few years ago now. And you would think you go in with your broken arm, right? Or broken limb of any kind, and you will be discharged when they've set it, right? No. They gave him some strong painkillers and sent him home. And it was a week before he could go back to have it. He was supposed to go back 3 days later. And then they had to cancel that appointment. It ended up being a week later. So he's basically sat at home off his tits on drugs with a broken arm that wasn't set. So that's not good enough. But the NHS weren't going to just say, well, there's nothing we can do. They were going to fix it. Whereas with mental health issues, you can go to the NHS and not get fixed, not even be put on a list. If you've got massive mental health problems being created by such things like massive cost of living crisis or something, or difficulty getting housing, all the sort of things that put massive, unreasonable levels of stress on people's emotions, and you don't have any way to fix those mental health problems on the NHS, then you're also going to create extra demand for social care. So that's the reason there. It's, yes, the council tax bills are going up, services are being cut. It's because there's more demand for the services. Tax saying our tax is £290 a month, gas and electricity £150 a month. You're doing well on the gas and electricity at least. That's very high. If that's council tax, that's a very high level of council tax, and not much. Because if it was a big expensive house, I would imagine you'd be spending more than that on electricity and gas. But anyway. Governments say they're going to reduce the percentage of NHS resources going to mental health. Well, I don't know where that's from. What they are doing is they are massively boosting mental health provision for young people specifically. So the way I see the government strategy is it's not anti-mental health. It is looking at the situation going, we basically don't have mental health. We can't create a national mental health service in one parliament. So we're going to start off with young people who need it more, and presumably the plan is to ramp it up, although, saying Rayna's started making a case, I see. Yeah. Well, maybe she has, maybe she hasn't. She hasn't really said anything yet. I mean, she said words, but she hasn't said anything about, she hasn't presented her manifesto as such. She may just be popping up and saying things so people don't forget about her. John, they're saying, our bipolar 2 got zero help from NHS, had to go private psychiatrist. NHS won't take over care from them, even with a diagnosis. All they'll do is put them on endless waiting list. Yeah, because they just don't have the provision. It's like they employ some psychiatrists, yes, not enough. So, I mean, I've known a lot of people with, and I mean properly serious, long-term chronic mental health problems. And I have never known anyone get treatment on the NHS. I know some people do get treatment on the NHS, but I've known over a dozen people in my life that have had very serious mental health problems, all of whom have tried to access help on the NHS, and none of whom have got it. Beyond being prescribed some pills which don't help. But anyway. It was in Streeting's annual statement. Okay. But I mean, I do know that they are boosting mental health provision for young people. Like literally everywhere. They're putting it in schools, in those community hubs. So I think that's the aim. I think the aim to fixing it is, rather than carrying on with little sticking plasters, is going, look, there's basically no mental health services in this country at all. So let's create one for a small section of society, the one that's deemed to need it most, and then presumably move on from there. Mental health treatment on the NHS normally consists of 6 weeks of CBT. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't do anything. Oh, JJ talking about the person I knew with a broken arm. Was it a hairline fracture? No, it was not. It was a proper break. No, their arm was in 2 bits. Oh, no, hold on. Oh, do you know what? It'll be on the old computer. I'll have a photo of it somewhere. I can't find my memory stick now. I might have to find it for future reference. Oh, hold on. Maybe, hold on. Let me just see. How good am I at using WhatsApp? I need to find photos in my WhatsApp and hope they go back enough years. How do I find photos in WhatsApp? Should be a media list somewhere, shouldn't there? Media. But obviously you get a lot of photos. No, it won't go. No. Okay. I'll find it somewhere. But no, it was. I've got the photo of the X-ray. There's daylight between the bone, the bits of the same bones, I should say. So he was basically in a lot of pain, having to be off his tits just to cope, and for a week. But nonetheless, there was no suggestion that they wouldn't fix it, that oh, heal it yourself. Whereas for mental health, that is exactly what you will get. That is what you will get. But anyway, there we go. We've ended up on a random note there. We'll call it there. Thanks for coming on, everyone. Have a great rest of evening, and until next time, I'll see you later.